So this is the last video for topic 0.5. We're going to do examples 17 to 20. And this is actually a super, super important thing right here. I know it wasn't in our I can statements. We're going to hit it again tomorrow in the inverses. When we do inverse, or the next lesson we do inverses. So I'm going to kind of give you a preview of what tomorrow is going to look like. So what they want us to actually find is the only thing to solve for in this equation is theta. So we actually have to figure out what on earth theta is. So I know that sine is the y value. So I'm going to go around my unit circle and look at all of the y values and see if I can figure out what angle measures the y value is square root of 3 over 2. So I'm going to look at all my y values. Here's one of them, meaning that one of my angles is not pi over 4. I just did that wrong. That one belongs to pi over 3, which would also be in degree world. It would be 60 degrees, because on your unit circle, hopefully you have both. All right, then I am going to keep going. I'm looking at the y values, square root of 3 over 2, and I'm looking for positive square root of 3 over 2. So notice it's here, which means that I also get 2 pi over 3, or 120 degrees. And I'm going to keep looking. It does not appear anywhere else. So those are the two values that I'm looking for. So in this one, I'm looking for the cosine is the x value. So I'm looking for where the x value is equal to negative 1/2. So I'm going to go all the way around looking for, here's negative 1/2. So that means I get 2 pi over 3 again, which is also 120 degrees. I'm going to keep looking for negative 1/2. So negative 1/2 is looking at 4 pi over 3. Oops, not an equal sign, it's a comma. 4 pi over 3, which would be 240 degrees. All right, it gets a little trickier when we try to do cosecant or secant or cotangent or tangent. So let's look at the secant of 2, which we know would have a 1 in the denominator. So I know secant is, I want to put it in terms of sine and cosine. I know secant is the reciprocal of cosine, so I'm looking for where the cosine is positive 1/2 or the x value is positive 1/2. I'm going to find the radian measure. So I see a positive 1/2 here, meaning one of mine is pi over 3 or 60 degrees. Apparently that all of my answers I picked are pi over 3. That's not intentional. Totally unintentional. Okay, so I'm still looking in the x coordinate. So here's my x coordinate of 1/2 is positive, and so I know that my next one is at 5 pi over 3, which is 300 degrees. All right, this one is probably the trickiest of all. So cotangent, we know in terms of sine and cosine, so it would be is cosine divided by sine, meaning my cosine is the top and my sine is the bottom. I don't just have a negative square root of 3 on there. However, I do have a negative square root of 3 over 2. So really what happens, remember when we go back, let me go back to one of these we simplified up here. There was one I'm sure we simplified. I remember doing it. So remember how when we simplify this, we end up taking the denominators out, and then we just ended up with the squared. So we know that there's always a denominator of 2. So I'm going to just reverse that process. So I'm going to try to rebuild my coordinates by saying I have negative square root of 3 divided by 2 over 1 divided by 2. Now, I don't know if the negative is truly on the top or on the bottom. So that's going to kind of be a little bit of an issue. So let's look at, that means my x coordinate or my cosine has to be negative square root of 3 over 2. My sine has to be 1/2. Or couldn't my negative float to the bottom? I could have positive square root of 3 over 2 or negative 1/2. So let's look at the radian measures that happens at. So negative square root of 3 over 2, positive 1/2 is here. So that is 5 pi over 6 in radians and 150 degrees in degrees. Then I'm looking for positive square root of 3 over 2. Here we go. Negative 1/2. So in radians, that's 11 pi over 6 or 330 degrees. Make sure you fill out your summaries. That should be answering the essential question, and also make sure you have 2 comments or questions in between the summary and the essential question.